Late one stormy evening, Alex and his best friend Sarah huddled inside his family's old house, nestled on the outskirts of town. Rain drummed against the windows, and an eerie stillness filled the rooms. They had heard rumors that the house's basement was haunted, a tale that sent shivers down the spines of anyone who visited. Alex, being a skeptic, always brushed off these stories, but tonight, something felt different. While they were sitting in the dimly lit living room, they heard a faint thumping noise echoing from beneath them. Alex looked at Sarah, trying to ignore the feeling of dread creeping up his spine. She stared back, her face pale. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, gripping her flashlight. They both sat in silence, listening as the thumping continued, growing louder, more deliberate, as if someone, or something, was trying to get out. Alex decided it was time to investigate. "There's no such thing as ghosts," he muttered, mostly to convince himself. He grabbed his flashlight and headed toward the basement door, with Sarah following closely behind. As they opened the basement door, a blast of cold air hit them. The flashlight beams cut through the darkness, illuminating the narrow stairs leading down into the abyss. Each step creaked under their weight, echoing ominously in the cramped space. Halfway down, the light flickered, and Alex's hand tightened on the railing. The basement was far colder than the rest of the house, the air thick with a musty smell, like mold and decay. They reached the bottom, and the flashlight revealed shelves cluttered with old boxes, cobwebs, and broken furniture. In one corner of the basement, a rusty metal door caught their attention. Neither of them had ever seen it before. It was hidden behind some stacked crates that looked like they hadn't been moved in years. "Do you remember this door?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex shook his head, his stomach twisting with unease. He stepped closer and inspected the door, which was covered in deep scratches, as if someone, or something, had clawed at it from the inside. With trembling hands, he reached for the handle. As soon as he touched it, the basement lights flickered, then died, plunging them into total darkness. Sarah let out a yelp, and Alex cursed, fumbling to turn the flashlight back on. Just as the light flickered back, they heard a faint whisper. It was coming from behind the door. The sound was soft at first, like the murmur of a distant voice, but soon grew louder, more desperate, almost pleading. "Help me!" The voice was chilling, filled with despair. Sarah backed away, but Alex, driven by a morbid curiosity, placed his ear against the door. The voice was clearer now, and he could make out fragments of words, but they made no sense. Like someone trapped in a different time, calling for help. Suddenly, there was a loud bang from behind the door, causing Alex and Sarah to jump back. The entire basement seemed to tremble. As they stared, the door began to slowly open, creaking as if it hadn't been moved in decades. A foul, rotten smell seeped out, filling the air. In the dim light, they could see the outline of a figure in the doorway. It was hunched over, its skin pale and withered, clothes torn and covered in dirt. The figure's hollow eyes stared directly at them, empty yet somehow filled with malice. It took a shuffling step forward, dragging one foot along the ground. Alex and Sarah froze, unable to move, paralyzed by fear. The figure raised one skeletal hand, reaching toward them, and then it spoke, its voice low and menacing. "Why did you disturb me?" it rasped, glaring at Alex. Without a second thought, Alex grabbed Sarah's arm, and they bolted up the stairs. But just as they reached the top, the door slammed shut in front of them. They turned, hearing footsteps slowly following them up the stairs. The ghostly figure's shadow stretched across the wall, growing taller and darker, looming over them. Desperate, Alex pounded on the basement door, but it wouldn't budge. The figure was getting closer, its footsteps echoing through the silence, a chilling sound that seemed to penetrate deep into their bones. It was almost upon them, its icy fingers stretching out, just inches from Alex's shoulder. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, Sarah turned and shoved her weight against the door. To their surprise, it flung open, and they stumbled into the hallway, slamming it shut behind them. They could still hear the faint sound of footsteps descending back into the basement, as if the spirit had retreated, for now. They locked the basement door, backed away, and looked at each other in shock, their breaths heavy, minds racing. They didn't say a word, only grabbed their things and ran out of the house, not daring to look back. Later, when they told others about the experience, People chalked it up to a prank or an overactive imagination, but Alex and Sarah knew the truth. They had disturbed something ancient, something that didn't belong in this world, and though they had escaped, they both knew the basement was not empty.